I was gonna say "On the Road Again," and I was gonna start singing that, but then I don't know. I know like 3 words of that song, and they're all right in the beginning, and then
Yeah, you and the rest of America. It's okay. End scene.
oh, bunch of random stuff. PlayStation has gone back on their own word, and they're gonna make like all the PS4 games compatible with PS5, like 4,000 of them.
You think they were feeling a little heat?
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
You know,
I'm guessing.
I mean, nothing says Microsoft's strategy was correct.
Yeah,
quite like the competitor, imitating it as much as they can.
Well, nothing quite says like, hey, this was a completely artificial limitation when we said if we believed in generations, then just saying, you know what? And then like all your games suddenly work.
We believe in generations is like a stupid excuse to force people to buy new hardware. That's all it is,
Yeah, like a Max hardware maybe. Like an iPhone Max. What were you just saying before we started?
Proven strategy. I don't know. What was I just complaining about?
Yeah.
So I guess the iPhone 12 family has leaked its pricing, all the specs, and the Pro and Pro Max are not. They have the same prices as last year, 128 gigs, but the camera is better. The camera system's better on the Max, which I'd have to really think about it. I don't remember, but if you go back to the iPhone 7 when they had a Plus, that was the one that had the two lenses for the first time, only on the Plus. And it did portrait mode. And then 8, I think they did the same thing on 8, actually. So after that, about 10, they didn't have a Max version of that. So I guess it would have been, actually, I guess it was just last year. So 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max, if I'm not mistaken, were identical, I think.
Yeah, I take your word for it.
I don't like that. I don't like you need to buy the big one to get all the best features because some people just like smaller screens. I don't understand why they wouldn't have the same features, but just a bigger screen.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know, but what I'm saying is consumer friendly, not Apple friendly. So
right. Yeah, because there's clearly better margins on the...
Or whoever. The Samsung does the same thing too, right? The big ones always have the best stuff. Not just cameras, it's other stuff. But it's like, guys, come on. Like, it should be the same thing.
Did it say anything about the refresh rate on the screen? Does it have a ProMotion display? Because
I think that's not happening. It doesn't. This doesn't say.
That's unfortunate.
There was some, So the last thing I saw was 60 frames on it. Was it 60? 60 is just normal.
60
right?
hertz.
60 hertz, sorry, on all phones. But this doesn't say that, so I don't know.
So
it seems like the pros could have... could have like a 90 or 120. Should.
They should. I mean, that would make them pro. Like,
there's a HomePod Mini, which, according to this delightful translation of a Chinese site, will be priced at 99 knives.
99 knives. Wow.
99. I don't know. Yeah, whatever.
I'm about 3 stick knives short of being able to afford that.
Yeah, exactly. What butter knives? Do those count? I'm just trying to get enough here. I don't know. Yeah, it looks like this leak was just about the prices, models, and cameras.
I mean, you could probably spitball the pricing, though. Like, it doesn't really change all that much.
Yeah. I mean, the big change this time is, actually, there are 2 big changes. So there's 5 models, not 3, right? Because before we had the iPhone and then the Pro and the Pro Max, and now we have a Mini, which is going to be the new low-cost one. I think that one was $599. And then the 12 and 12 Max. So there's like a Max now on the normal one, and then the Pro and the Pro Max. Confused?
A little bit.
Go back in time to about 1998 and remember the grid of 4 things that Steve Jobs put up on a screen and said, these are the 4 things we make. Actually, at the time they only had 3, but they added a 4th, and that 4th was the iBook. But today that grid would be like 256 cells by 127.
Yep. Running out of space in an Excel document, like we're out of columns.
That's why they added an ultra-wide camera lens so they could actually put it up on stage and show it with one shot. You don't have to pan across it like a tennis game.
Yeah.
How you doing today?
Yeah, I was going to say, you feel a little snabby.
Yeah.
Get that in the camera view. A little stabby, a little twisted once it's in there bleeding. So Microsoft will occasionally do these things. They call them internal events, but I like to call them internal events without PR. Because sometimes they do like an all-company hands-on meeting and they blast it everywhere. And then those things just leak out like a PR event, but without the PR. And that's where all the information came from yesterday that just suddenly hit. And I was trying to sit on it for like a few minutes, but then, that kind of bites me in the butt that iOS is going to get XCloud.
What happens when you don't sit on it, Brad? Does that ever bite you in the butt?
Yeah. People tend to.
I don't know.
There's a great story there that's
Asking
not
for a
suitable
friend.
for a podcast.
Yeah.
And my livelihood. And maybe it'll end up in a footnote somewhere in a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, whatever. You totally knocked me off.
Sorry.
Anyway, so that's where Phil Spencer got up and said, like, look, we're going to bring XCloud to iOS. We're also working on the browser stuff. And it was just, there was all hands on company meeting type things. So
I like that solution. And I did not originate this idea. I mean, many people have sort of openly pondered this, but when you think about the problems with the App Store and Apple's policies, blah, 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 the logical answer is we'll make a web app and just bypass them. And, I mean, obviously, if iOS fully supported PWAs in ways that you could install them to your home screen, which you can see now why they don't do this, that would absolutely, that would solve most of it. The big thing about the App Store is that users are conditioned to go there to find apps. And if like say you were Spotify, and you're like, you know what, screw you, we're going to have a web app. It's going to work fine. No one will notice the difference. Probably true. The problem is discoverability, because no one would know, to go and do that. They would go to the App Store and they'd be like, where's Spotify? And the thing that would come up would be Apple Music, because, Apple. So, yeah, anyway, that's why. But I like the approach. It's smart on Microsoft's part.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what Amazon's doing with their Lunas as well. And so we'll see how long it takes them to get that out.
Yeah, I think it won't be this year.
No, it won't be this year. They said it very clearly said it was going to be next year. There's also some of the other sort of like oddities, like why isn't there XCloud on PC? Here's my guess as to why. It's not a technical limitation. It already exists. I honestly think it's a marketing thing. Like if they launch this now and then they're launching 2 consoles, they're launching game, I think it's just too much.
I agree. And by the way, no one really noticed this or cared about it or whatever, but Microsoft literally just released a new 4K 60 frame a second Miracast dongle. Wonder what that's for. That could also be used for XCloud. So yeah, I like doing it in waves. Look, there's so much going on right now anyway. Obviously having it on iOS would have been key, but Android tablets and phones, and then consoles, which is kind of goofy, but that's fine. You're launching 2 consoles, and now we have news for next year, right? The Xbox thing kind of keeps going. So good.
Yeah, and then late yesterday there was the GameStop announcement, which there's a very interesting and odd line in there. So like GameStop, which is a store here mostly in the US, is going to be using Dynamics. Like they're just going all Microsoft. They're going the whole stack. They're using Surface hardware in their stores. They're like overhauling it with some money that I was unaware they still had. But there was a really interesting line where they talked about they're bringing Xbox All Access, and they said that this was going to be both a good revenue generating item over the life cycle of the product. Like it almost sounds like GameStop's going to like be making money each time you make your payment on that Xbox All Access, which
I think that might be true. And I don't know anything about it, but so here, just so people understand, one of the things that's kind of tough, but in the relationship with Microsoft and other console makers has with companies like GameStop is games are going digital. This happened before with all kinds of different markets, videos and so forth. So how do you fix this relationship, or how do you keep it going? Microsoft in the what's now still the current generation had that all digital version of the yes. It's always a warning sign. Sony going forward is going to have one for their premier flagship or premier console. Microsoft notably not so much, right? But I think the idea, I'm sorry, that's not true. Anyway, I think the idea here is you got to throw them a bone because things are going digital. And one of the ways you can do that is you can still give them part of the hardware sale and then ongoing revenues through this, so they get some percentage of the all access. And also they're going to be doing Surface stuff, right?
Yeah.
And Surface is an example of something that's not that they hadn't historically. It's not their type of business or whatever, but it's a nice. We need a place, Microsoft, the community, to go and see Surface devices because there are no Microsoft stores, and so it's just another avenue, another outlet for that kind of stuff. So
Yeah. Well, the other interesting thing is too is you can. I don't know. Sony might be doing something similar, but now you can imagine the GameStop management's gonna be like, "Hey, we want to really shove out all Xbox All Access consoles because that'll give us $1 a month or whatever, but it's cash flow."
I mean, look, the only outcome for GameStop ultimately is they're going to be the place where you go to buy used games. I mean, it's the unfortunate reality of this business, and so this forestalls it. And who knows? I mean, it kind of reminds me of like the Microsoft Partners program when the world went from like Office and on-prem service to Office 365 and then Microsoft 365, and it's like you're kind of cutting these guys out. Like what can they do that to replace what they used to do? And in that case, what they can do is they can value add, and they can do the support stuff locally, and they can basically resell it and take a little chunk of the purchase. And Microsoft's applying that to video games. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it kind of is. Kind of is. So we'll see how that shakes out. I don't know when that transition is going to occur, but I mean, it's not like a financial transaction. So I'm assuming that the contracts have been signed and then the process is starting. So. Yeah.
I mean, when was the last time you were inside a GameStop? Not to be a jerk about it, but
I mean, I can't even tell you the last time I think I bought a physical game. I'm trying to remember.
Right. I literally have never purchased a game non-digitally this entire generation since the original Xbox One, and then for a few years beyond that, right, with the 360 too. Yeah, I can't remember. So. Anyways, what's going on with Outlook? I saw that actually Tony wrote something up, then you wrote something up, and then I ran out of time. Right. So thanks to Tony, because I never even saw that these sessions existed, but there are a couple of sessions from Ignite that talk about something called One Outlook. And look, whatever your opinions are about which Outlook clients are good or bad, because based on the comments, they're all over the map. That's fine. But Microsoft has approximately 127 different versions of Outlook. They're all based on different code bases. They're all different features. They all look different, so they're working. You'll be amused to discover the program or the initiative inside Microsoft is called One Outlook. It doesn't mean what it sounds like. It's not literally one Outlook code base. They can't really do that, and they're not going to completely replace Outlook for Windows or Mail Calendar for Windows 10 or whatever and make a new Outlook mobile client, which they should do, frankly, but whatever. What they're doing instead is trying to, at different levels, the architecture on the back end, and then the UX on the front end, and then a few service stuff in the middle, is try to make these things as much like each other as possible. And a lot of the new stuff they're doing from a UX perspective is based on React and other web technologies. So in the context of Outlook for Windows, unfortunately, what that means is you might have a pane in there where it's showing a view of here's everyone in your organization and what their openness is for scheduling and meetings and so forth. And you can pick, a meeting where everyone's free. That piece is a web component, probably built in React. It will look basically the same, screen size, whatever, in Outlook Mobile, Outlook on the web, Outlook for Windows, Outlook for Mac. You're still running the native app, but that particular component is going forward will be one piece of code, more easily maintained. So they're not ripping and replacing, but they're trying to do as much as they can to make everything as common to each other as possible. Outlook.com, Outlook on the web, both have almost identical UXs now and the same back end, right? So that's good. They're never going to have one Outlook, right? I mean, whatever. But so it wasn't the panacea I thought it was going to be, but I appreciate, it's hard. It's hard to move in this direction.
Yeah, because there's so many different devices and screens and.
Yeah, so they're moving in the right direction, but there's always people, people have been around forever and you really rely on Outlook and have used it since even the 90s, right? Because the first version I think was 97. So it's been around for 23 years. I mean, it's picked up a lot of functionality. And when you move to like the web clients or worse, the mobile clients, you lose a lot of stuff. And for most people, that's probably not an issue. But for organizations that have been exchange-based for a long, long time, different people rely on different things. So they can't just shit can it or whatever. But
did you see? You'll see how this ties in. What's going on with IBM?
Yeah,
they're getting split, and so one of the top comments on like that article, it was So which one gets burdened with Lotus Notes?
Yes.
Because the other,
Yes,
whichever
you know
one
it's still
doesn't
good
have
for
it is going to dump that like a bad habit.
I didn't get to use this in short takes today, but I was going to make a joke that the two resulting companies would be named I and BM.
I was thinking IBM E, like HPE did.
Yes, right. IBM Junior.
Yeah. And then you broke your speakers or something. I don't know. You said remind you of your speakers right before this. And
No, so remember I bought these Google Nest audio speakers, right? And they're great. Since writing about them, and they're good value. You know, $99 if you're in this ecosystem, you need to cast. They're great. They really are good. They're good value. But then again, you know, there are $99 IKEA speakers that are Sonos, and I had them in the kitchen, and I've been using them as rears. I brought my daughters away from college, and so she has like 3 of my older Sonos speakers in her room, and so I brought 2 of them up, and they're the old style ones. I don't know, they might have been called Play One or whatever they were called back in the day. Put them in the kitchen, put them next to the new Google speakers, and I did a side by side comparison, same song.
Yep.
And the Google speakers sound significantly better, I have to say. Now, my daughter's speakers are not tuned in any way. They're just on the default settings and, you know, blah, 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 whatever. And I was like, that's kind of interesting. And I really didn't want to start moving speakers around, but I was like, what's going on here? You know, so I ultimately brought the IKEA speakers back into the kitchen, put them up side by side. The IKEA speakers are the same internals as the latest generation Sonos Ones, whatever those are called, the SL and whatever the other one is. Those speakers sound significantly better than the Google speakers, and they are literally the same price. They are possibly twice as loud. They pump. It's crazy because it's a thin structure, but the bass is incredible. So I was like, you know what? All right, same price. Obviously, I'm going to stick with Sonos. So I'm actually going to return the speakers. I'm going to leave those in there, and I'll probably just buy 2 more of the IKEAs to use as rears in the other room. But that's not an emergency. So. The other thing, this is a side note related to this. A month ago, no, actually, I'm sorry, 2 months ago, I had that lightning issue.
Yeah.
I still suffer from the after effect. I don't mean me personally. I don't have like PTSD. My house still suffers from electrical and weird issues from this. And one of the weirdest ones has been the Sonos Beam soundbar, the what do you call it? Soundbar.
Yeah, just the Beam.
Yeah. So that thing got destroyed by the lightning. Sonos replaced it. They literally sent me a brand new one. And one of the weird things was, and I think it's because of the TV. Like something's wrong with the TV or how this thing connects to the TV. You have to go through the ARC port. You know, I assume that's how you do it. Actually, I should ask. How do you do it? Do you use the optical audio or do you use an ARC?
No, we use eARC. Is that what they call it or something? Okay. Whatever it's called.
Yeah. So it's like an HDMI cable.
Yep.
Okay. So that's how I've been doing it. I think it's something to do with HDMI. That port and you have to use that one port. That's screwed up. And so the way this went down, I'm not going to get the dates right exactly, but for 2 to 3 weeks, I would turn the TV on and it would take like 5 minutes of playing audio of some kind before the Sonos speaker kicked in, like it was off. So you'd have to go through the speaker on the TV. Magically one day, it fixed itself. I turned it on, the sound was on, I was like, oh my God. And then it worked. For days it worked. For weeks it worked. And then about 2 weeks ago, stopped working. It got to the point where they went back to the thing where it was like 5 minutes and you had to be playing something. And then 2 or 3 days ago, it got to the point where it wouldn't come on. I couldn't get it to come on unless I went through the app and I kind of redid the TV setup. Yeah. And sometimes it would work and sometimes it wouldn't. I cannot explain this. So I'm looking at the instructions and it's talking about this optical audio cable thing. And I'm like, it's included with the Sonos.
Yeah. Yep.
So I went down the cellar, broke open the box, found it. It's just a little, it's not like a, if you've seen these cables, they're usually kind of long. It's just a little HDMI to optical audio adapter. And so I plugged that in instead of the ARC, and now it works. And you know, in 2 weeks it won't.
Yeah.
I'm gonna rip out the entire electrical system on my house to fix this. I have no idea how to fix this.
Isn't that the second time you'll have done that then?
Yes, yes. At least the first time didn't cost $37,000. Jesus Christ. Anyway. Yes. One lightning strike, Brad. That's how it goes.
Yeah, just one to take me out and get me away from you.